All right. Hello, everyone. Getting ready for those UPSC exams. Staying updated is key. And today we're going to do a deep dive into something that's pretty relevant for both mains and even prelims. Air India offering Wi-Fi on domestic flights.
Oh,
I
yeah.
know, right?
Yeah.
It sounds pretty basic, but when we dig into it, using these articles from Indian Express and Business Standard, it gets pretty interesting.
Yeah, there's a lot more to it than you might think.
Definitely. So Air India just merged with Vistara, right? And it seems like
Mhm.
that's a big reason they're able to roll out this Wi-Fi thing.
Yeah, exactly. See, a lot of Vistara's planes, those newer models like the Airbus A350s and Boeing 787-9s, they already had Wi-Fi, built in.
So Air India basically got a head start.
Yeah, kind of a lucky break for them. But on the other hand, Air India's got a whole bunch of older planes.
Right, and those probably don't have Wi-Fi.
Nope, and getting those retrofitted, that's a whole other story.
I bet it's expensive.
Oh, yeah, you're talking serious cash. Air India is already spending something like $400 million just to revamp those older planes.
Yeah.
Adding Wi-Fi on top of that. Yeah, it adds up.
So for now, it's just Wi-Fi on those newer planes from Vistara.
Right.
But for the people who get to use it, like, what's it actually like?
Imagine this. You're on the plane, you get that little notification, you know, airplane mode, but then there's this option that pops up, Air India Wi-Fi. You put in your info and bam.
Online.
Exactly. And right now they're doing this thing, a pilot program where it's free.
Oh, nice. So people can try it out.
Yeah. See how it works?
Free Wi-Fi. Everyone loves that.
Yeah.
But hold on a sec. We're talking about the internet up in the air. How's that even work?
So there are two main ways they do it. The first one uses cell towers on the ground.
Kind of like with our phones.
Yeah, exactly. But the other way, and this is getting more common, is they use satellites.
Satellites. So is that better than the cell tower thing?
It really depends. Satellites are way better for covering large areas, especially over oceans. No cell towers in the middle of the Atlantic.
That's true.
But around cities and stuff, where there are already lots of cell towers that can be cheaper.
Okay, I get it. So say I'm on a site with Wi-Fi and I'm working on my UPSC notes. How does my laptop actually connect to, let's say, my study group back on the ground?
Okay, so every plane with Wi-Fi has this server on board. It's like a little mini internet hub. If it's a satellite system, your signal goes up to the satellite, then down to a station on the ground, and then finally...
In my study group.
Exactly. If it's the cell tower system, then the signal goes straight from the plane to a tower.
So the plane is like its own little internet world up there.
Pretty much.
But let's be real here. Is it as fast as my Wi-Fi at home? Because sometimes even that's a pain.
Well, honestly, in-flight Wi-Fi has a bit of a reputation for being slow and not always reliable. There are a bunch of reasons why.
Like what?
You've got limited bandwidth, signal interference, and just the sheer distance the signal has to travel. All that stuff adds up.
Right, that makes sense.
Okay.
Okay, so we've talked about what it's like for passengers, the tech behind it all. But what about the business side of things? This can't be cheap for Air India.
Definitely not. Installing and maintaining these Wi-Fi systems, it's a big investment for any airline.
I can imagine.
You've got the equipment, the upkeep, and then there's the cost of all that data. It adds up quick.
So it's no wonder a lot of airlines offer like a little bit of free Wi-Fi, and then they start charging.
Right. It's all about finding that balance, keeping the people happy, but also making it work financially.
It's a tough spot for sure.
Mm.
So what about Air India? Are they going to go the free Wi-Fi route, or are they going to follow everyone else and start charging?
Well, they're being kind of secretive about it right now.
Okay.
We know the pilot program is free, but they haven't said anything about prices after that.
Yeah, I bet that's a tricky decision, especially in India.
Mm.
Everyone's looking for a good deal.
Oh, yeah. Price is a big deal here.
Okay, so Air India is taking this big step with in-flight Wi-Fi. But what does it all mean?
Yeah.
Why should our listeners, those folks studying with the UPSC, why should they care about this?
Well, this is about more than just watching movies on a plane. This is a major change in how we think about connectivity, how productive we can be, and even how the economy develops. And for those prepping for the UPSC, understanding that's key.
Okay, I'm listening. I want to know more about why this matters to those UPSC exams.
Think about it. In-flight Wi-Fi, it connects to so many topics that could be on the exam, both mains and prelims. We're talking about advancements in technology, how it affects the airline industry, the impact on tourism and business travel. It's all connected.
Oh yeah, I see it. So we can see questions on science and technology, economics, even current affairs.
Exactly.
Wow, this is way more than just browsing the internet on a plane.
That's just the beginning.
Okay, so we got the tech side, the economic angle, and now we're talking about the impact on society as a whole. This is definitely sounding like UPSC material.
It is.
But let's focus back on the airlines for a minute. We talked about how much this all costs, but couldn't Air India actually make money from this too?
Absolutely. In-flight Wi-Fi, it's not just a perk. It's a potential moneymaker. If they do it right, Air India could turn this into a profitable service.
But wouldn't it make more sense to offer it for free? I mean, in India, everyone loves a deal. Wouldn't free Wi-Fi bring in more passengers and give Air India an edge over other airlines?
That's a really good point, and it's something that airlines all over the world are debating. Free Wi-Fi. It could be a powerful way to attract customers, especially in a market like India where people are very price conscious.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, those costs are real, and airlines are businesses. They need to make a profit.
Right, so it's a tough choice. Offer free Wi-Fi and hope to make up for it by getting more passengers or charge for it and maybe lose some customers. It's a real dilemma.
Exactly, and that's what makes this such an interesting topic for the UPSC. It's not a simple yes or no answer. It forces you to think critically, consider different perspectives, and come up with a well-reasoned argument.
Just like those UPSC questions. All right, so our listeners, they've got the tech basics down. They're thinking about the economics and the broader societal impact. What else should they be thinking about as they get ready for those UPSC exams?
One crucial area is government policy. For instance, the Digital India Initiative. Its goal is to make internet access available to everyone across the country. So how does in-flight Wi-Fi fit into that vision? Could the government incentivize airlines to expand coverage to remote areas?
That's a great point. It's not just about the technology itself. It's about how it interacts with policies and initiatives that are already in place. And I bet UPSC examiners love to see the candidates who can connect the dots and show they understand the whole picture.
Absolutely. And here's another angle: cybersecurity. With more and more devices connecting to the internet up in the air, what are the potential risks? How can airlines and regulators make sure that passenger data stays private and secure?
Whoa, I hadn't even considered that. So we've got national policy cybersecurity concerns. This is way more complicated than I initially thought. But it's also super interesting, and I bet our listeners are really getting a lot out of this deep dive.
I hope so. And remember, we've just scratched the surface of this topic. There's so much more to explore, and I encourage everyone to do their own research and dig deeper into the areas that they find interesting.
I love that. It's all about sparking curiosity and encouraging our listeners to become active learners. And speaking of learning, we'll be right back after a short break to recap all the key points and give you some extra resources to help you ace those UPSC exams. So we're talking potential questions on science and technology, economics, maybe even current affairs. But I feel like there's even more to this, right? Like, how does this fit into the bigger picture of India's development?
You're spot on. For a country like India, with its diverse geography and the fact that internet access isn't the same everywhere, in-flight Wi-Fi could be a game changer. Well, think about remote areas in the Himalayas or the Northeast places where it's really tough to lay down those fiber optic cables for broadband. Suddenly you've got planes flying over acting like these mobile internet hubs.
So it's like skipping ahead, bypassing the infrastructure limitations. Instead of waiting forever for broadband to reach every corner of the country, you're bringing the internet to the skies. That's pretty amazing.
It is, and it's definitely something UPSC examiners might ask you to think about. Imagine the impact on education, healthcare, e-commerce in these underserved areas.
Okay, so we've got the tech side, the economic angle, and now this whole societal impact.
Yep.
It's definitely sounding more and more like UPSC material. But let's zoom back in on the airline industry for a second.
Yeah.
We talked about costs, but isn't there also a huge potential for Air India to make money from this?
Oh, absolutely. In-flight Wi-Fi, it's not just a convenience, it's a potential revenue stream. If they play their cards right, Air India could turn this into a real moneymaker.
But wouldn't it make more sense to just offer free Wi-Fi? I mean, everyone in India is looking for a good deal. Wouldn't that attract more passengers and give Air India a competitive edge?
That's a valid point, and it's a debate that's going on in the airline industry. Worldwide, free Wi-Fi. It's a great marketing tool, especially in a price-sensitive market like India.
Yeah.
But then there's the reality of the costs. Airlines are businesses. At the end of the day, they need to see a return on their investment.
Right, so it's a tough decision. Offer free Wi-Fi and hope to make up for it with more passengers, or charge for it and maybe risk losing some customers. It's a classic UPSC dilemma.
Exactly. And that's what makes this topic so interesting from an exam perspective. There's no easy answer. It requires critical thinking, weighing different perspectives, and formulating a well-supported argument.
Just like those UPSC questions.
Exactly.
All right, so our listeners have got the tech basics down. They're thinking about the economics and the wider societal impact. What else should they be considering as they prep for those UPSC exams?
One key area is government policy. Take the Digital India Initiative, for example. It aims to bridge the digital divide and make internet access widespread. How does in-flight Wi-Fi factor into that? Could the government play a role in encouraging airlines to expand coverage to remote areas?
That's a great point. It's not just about the technology in isolation, it's about how it intersects with existing policies and goals. And I bet UPSC examiners love to see that, candidates who can connect the dots and demonstrate a holistic understanding.
Absolutely. And here's another thought, cybersecurity. With all these devices connecting to the internet up in the air, what are the vulnerabilities? What steps can airlines and regulators take to safeguard passenger data and ensure privacy?
Whoa, I hadn't even thought about that. So we've got national policy cybersecurity concerns.
Mhm.
This is way more complex than I initially thought, but it's also super fascinating, and I'm sure our listeners are getting a lot out of this deep dive.
I hope so. And to keep in mind, we've really just skimmed the surface here. There's a whole lot more to explore, and I encourage everyone to do their own digging and delve deeper into the areas that pique their interest.
I love that. It's all about sparking curiosity and encouraging our listeners to become active learners. And speaking of learning, we'll be right back after a short break to go over the key takeaways and provide you with some extra resources to help you conquer those UPSC exams. All right, we're back and ready to break down all this in-flight Wi-Fi stuff into some key takeaways for all you UPSC aspirants out there.
Yeah.
We covered a lot of ground.
Yeah, literally.
Huh. Okay, so what are the absolute must-knows for those exams?
Yeah.
What should our listeners be focusing on in their notes?
First things first, you got to have a good understanding of both ATG and satellite-based Wi-Fi. Knowing how they work, what their strengths and weaknesses are, that could easily pop up on your prelims, especially in that science and technology section.
Good point. And of course, Air India being the first Indian airline to offer this domestically, that's a big deal. Yeah. Being able to talk about how that impacts Indian aviation tourism, how it ties in with things like Digital India, that's super important for Mains.
Yeah, definitely. And let's not forget about the economic side of things, the costs involved for the airlines, the different ways they could make money from this pricing strategies. All that directly relates to the economic syllabus for Mains.
Yeah.
Globally, paying for Wi-Fi is becoming the standard, but how that plays out in India, that's a whole other story.
It really is. It's all about connecting those dots, right? Showing the examiners that you get how this thing, Wi-Fi on a plane, has these ripple effects across tech, economics, even social development.
Exactly. The UPSC, they're not looking for you to just memorize facts. They want to see that you can analyze information, synthesize it, connect seemingly unrelated things. In-flight Wi-Fi, it's a perfect example of that.
So for our listeners who are busy taking notes right now,
Yeah.
what's the one big takeaway they should really remember?
I'd say this technology is never just about the tech itself. It's about how it interacts with society, with the economy, with politics even. And as future policymakers, that's how you need to approach everything you study, not just for the UPSC, but for your careers.
Well said. It's not about memorizing the facts. It's about understanding the so what, the implications, the consequences. That's what takes an answer from good to great.
Couldn't agree more. And as you continue studying for the UPSC, keep asking those what questions. Dig deeper, challenge assumptions, make those connections. The world is full of these complex, interconnected issues, and in-flight Wi-Fi is just one really fascinating example.
So true. And remember, the deep dive is here to help you navigate those complexities and give you the knowledge you need to ace those exams and really make a difference.
Before we wrap up, one last thought for everyone to consider. What if in-flight Wi-Fi becomes the norm? How might that change the way we work, how we travel, even how we think about time? Will it blur the lines between work and leisure? Or could it lead to some kind of hyper-productive future?
Wow, that's a great question to think about. And on that note, we'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and share this episode with your fellow UPSC folks. Let's conquer those exams together.